Happy New Year, everyone. Remarkable Republican here to bring you the truth with truth-flavored bias. Today, I would like to talk about Star Wars Rogue One, which is something I just saw recently. Now, I had made a previous video about the original trilogy of Star Wars. They are still garbage, and so is Rogue One, which is set in the same time period. Later on, I will also make a video detailing exactly why the prequels are far superior. But until we get to that point, I would like to talk about the hidden agenda of George Lucas and Rogue One. Rogue One has no class and no sympathy for the family of Carrie Fisher who recently passed. George Lucas used a computer-generated version of Carrie Fisher and threw her into the movie and probably did not pay her children for her appearance. But that's not the real issue. The reason why George Lucas and other elites who worked in this movie felt so comfortable portraying someone like Carrie Fisher as still alive is because what he's trying to tell you, one of the messages of the movie, is that the powers that be, the government, the elite, the international elite, the globalists, have more power and importance than you do, and that you, as a human, as an individual, are their property to do with as they see fit. So that is what that part of the movie is actually trying to say, and many people caught on to the classlessness of it. However, they missed the deeper meaning. And we'll see that there are a lot of levels of deep meaning in Rogue One, and all of them are very, very negative and frightening. One of the key locations in Rogue One is the former Jedi holy city of Jeddah, which is quite clearly modeled on Jerusalem. It's a city that is elevated, it's a mountain city, and the areas around it are desert and rural, just like the real Jerusalem. Now, why is this problematic? Well, there are a number of reasons. One, as I mentioned in my previous Star Wars video, and which many liberals have taken exception to, is that George Lucas is very actively trying to promote a Jedi religion, and this can't be spelled out any more clearly than in the fact that he gave the Jedi religion a capital, its own Jerusalem, in the most literal and in-your-face possible sense. Don't believe me? Well, here's an artist rendition of what first century Jerusalem would have looked like. As you can see, it was an elevated city, rural surroundings, and it was dominated by a temple, just like the city of Jeddah and Rogue One. And both cities were the site of contention between great powers. In the ancient world, the Romans wanted to conquer Jerusalem, which was one of the richest and most important cities of the time, right up there with Rome and Carthage and the rest. And Jeddah is clearly the most important city on its planet. In fact, we never see another city on that planet. So it was clearly very important. Another sort of resonance between Jeddah and Jerusalem is that this film was released on December 16th, a mere 9 days before Christmas. Jesus Christ himself, of course, was born not all that far from Jerusalem on December 25th. You might have heard of it, it's called Christmas. Just in case you didn't catch on to the geographical similarities between Jeddah and Jerusalem, there is further evidence that Rogue One provides when you get to the actual streets of Jeddah. The city looks exactly like Jerusalem, it just happens to feature more advanced technology. The stormtroopers pictured here are exactly like the Roman centurions who were governing Jerusalem under the Roman Empire. And if you see the Holy Man, the one guy who is not a Jedi, but he's some sort of Force-sensitive guy in the movie, he takes center stage once they get to the city. In many ways, he was a relatively minor figure when they were doing other stuff, but when the rebels enter the city itself, he becomes a holy figure, sort of a Christ-like figure. He becomes this guy who has this mystical connection to a religion, and he uses that power to oppose the invading power, the Empire. And this is part, again, of George Lucas pushing his idea that the new Jedi religion should supplant and replace Christianity. And that is why I vehemently hate this movie. I wouldn't have bothered making this video if it were merely about George Lucas promoting his new bullshit religion of Jediism. I mean, after all, what harm could come from a bunch of goddamn hippies playing with swords and cutting each other's hair? Who cares? What really bothers me, though, is that this is more or less an open hint that George Lucas and other elites are aware of things about the universe that the rest of us are not, namely alien intervention in our lives. Or they are trying to distort the truth and give God's glory to an alien force which may or may not actually exist. Now, we know from film theory involving Star Wars that anytime an Imperial Star Destroyer is shown, it has a specific meaning. Famously, the first Star Destroyer in A New Hope is supposed to represent the size, power, and reach of the Empire. Here what we see is that the Star Destroyer is bigger than the city underneath it. The idea being that secular authority is greater than religious authority, and that it is these aliens, these people from outside, who have given us everything that we know and think that we know. It's this idea that there is an alien force of extra intelligence that is beyond our own. The idea, of course, undermines human capacity and also blinds us to our need for a relationship with God. So George Lucas, in creating Rogue One and the Star Wars universe and Jediism in general, is a practitioner of evil, although I think he is an unwitting one. I think he's someone who promotes this evil but does so out of ignorance, not out of malice. Many people believe that flying saucers were originally based on the tops of pyramids, and there is a lot more evidence for that than you would actually think. I recommend the writings of Graham Hancock, the greatest living archaeologist, and also, if you get a chance, check out Gorilla 199. He has a YouTube channel here where he details UFOs, the Illuminati, things of that nature. Unfortunately, I believe that he's died. He hasn't posted a video in several years, but his content is still very well made and extremely well researched. So if you want to learn more about the imagery of flying saucers and pyramids, I highly suggest checking out, as I said, Graham Hancock and Gorilla 199. Until next time, I'm Remarkable Republican, bringing you the truth with truth-flavored bias, signing out.